Now let's dive into the impact the work schedule has on retention. Why is the work schedule more important than pay when it comes to retention, Frank?
Well, we know pay is a short-term motivator, right? People forget about it once they actually get the pay raise, right? And the kind of employee that's willing to jump for a pay raise, once they get to the new company, well, they've forgotten that raise. They're looking for the next raise. Are they really the one that you want to acquire with a higher rate of pay? Not saying you shouldn't pay employees as much money as you can, right? But that's not the way to really retain them. The way to really retain them is to get them a schedule where they have time off with their kids, they have time off with their families, they have the ability to predict their lives or the flexibility that needs something so I can see my parents or whatever my plan is. The other thing is we've been doing this for 35 years. We've surveyed hundreds of thousands of shift workers, and I got to tell you that schedule is a whole lot more important for most people than pay. Again, you got to have minimum pay. If you're not paying that minimum, you're in trouble. But I'd like to quote one of my recent clients who told me, look, we acquire people through higher pay, but we retain people through better schedules.
Well, that's very interesting because we just completed a recent research report, and one of the questions we asked was about the impact of the schedule. And 85% of respondents said that the work schedule impacts their job satisfaction. And over 80% said that it is actually a likely indicator of whether they're going to look for another job. So I think that certainly our research backs up exactly that point.
Yes, sir.
Do you think companies are aware of how impactful the schedule is on employee turnover?
I think they're not. You know, it's hard. It depends on who you're talking to, right? Certainly, if you're close and you're the HR manager, you've kind of got it. But a lot of people, they grew up in their current schedules. A lot of schedules have been in plants for a long time. So the operations managers who often came up out of operations, that's what they worked, and they made it through. I worked that shift, worked fine. I got it. You should be able to do it. That doesn't necessarily apply with today's workforces when there are a lot of other options. There's a lot of things they can see. There's a lot of places they can jump or more mobile workforce. So we have to be a little bit careful about that.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the barriers for companies to be able to address it is it's pretty easy to look at employee needs as homogeneous, that when it comes to work-life balance and things like that there's one answer. And I think the reality is that there isn't one answer, right? What's work-life balance for me and what's work-life balance for you are two different types of things. I may want more time off to be with my family, and you may be in a situation where you're just trying to maximize the hours you can get over the next couple of weeks. And I think that's been one of the things that's been preventing companies from really being able to necessarily address the problem, is because it isn't just one universal set of answers.
That's right. If I could add to that, I'd say that one nice thing about people is we actually have a whole lot more in common than we don't have in common. In today's world, you think, it seems like everybody's fighting each other. The reality is people actually want the same things, right? We really have a lot in common. And what I mean by that is we all want to have time with our kids, time with our families, take care of our parents, time to go out to the bar to have a drink with my friends. All those things are important no matter where you are. Predictability, flexibility, those are really important. But how each individual answers that question is very, very different. And how many billion people we are, you have that many billion answers, right? And even within a plant, we have people where maybe you want to work more hours, you want to work overtime. I don't want to work any. Right. I'm here for the benefits. Can I work 30 hours, right? And so, how are we able to meet both our needs? Because if you're working more hours, that's less than I have to work. So that could actually be a win-win for both of us. And it could be a win-win for the company if we're happier, we're retained, and productivity matters, and all the skills, we can work that out. And with today's technology solutions, we should be able to put in the right rules and make all this work together. But we should be able to manage that and allow people to have the flexibility to pick their own options within limits.
Within limits, yeah. So what do you see as really the kind of core business case? Why should companies view scheduling in more of a worker-centric mode in addition to just meeting their own particular needs?
Well, and this is always a surprise to people, the schedule is not for companies. It's not about helping people and making them happier. It's actually about the money, right? Typically, as we engage people and take them to alternative schedules, we save 11 to 22% of total labor budget. That doesn't sound like a big number. That is a ginormous number. If you think about a total labor budget where an employee is maybe a $75,000, $50,000 person, if you have 100 people, what's that labor budget? 100 times 50,000, $5 million labor budget. 10% is $500,000. If you have a 200-person plant, now 10% is $1 million. And that's the bottom end of the scale, right? So the money is out there. And where is that? Most of that is in capturing idle time, making sure your workforce is actually being utilized while they're there, and not having too many people when you don't need too many people, and at the same time, not being short when you're short.
Exactly. Yeah, that has ramifications in terms of being able to reduce your overtime by not scheduling the wrong people into the wrong shifts that drive those types of things.
Absolutely. Reducing overtime is a big one. Increasing capacity, the ability, as I was talking about that chicken plant earlier, that company was pushing 7 days a week. Today, that company works 5.5 days a week. How was that possible? Because they got more done. There was actually more time inside the week that the schedule they had been running for 100 years was preventing them from taking advantage of. Right. Where so an alternative can really be a game changer.
Which comes back full circle to the retention argument and the turnover argument, because that's good for the company and good for the employees.
Yes, sir. There are win-wins out there.
For sure.